Now, more than a decade after graphic images released from Abu Ghraib, the now infamous detention center in Iraq, 4 of the cleared detainees are finally getting their day in court. But will any accountability decisions be found? I was joined earlier by the lead attorney representing the men, Azmy, from the Center for Constitutional Rights. I first asked Azmy how the initial oral arguments went.
I think it went very positively for us. You know, the position of the private military contractor in this case is that torture is a policy question. It's not a legal question. And they tried to convince a court of law that the court had no power, no jurisdiction, no authority to enforce the well-known legal prohibitions on torture. And I think the court was extremely skeptical of that radical position.
Now, by now, we're 12 years out. We're all pretty familiar with those very haunting and disturbing images from Abu Ghraib that show Iraqi detainees being abused by khaki contractors. Seeing as you represent 4 of these former detainees who were, I should mention, eventually released without charge, your clients are asking for an appeal on a previous ruling on this case based on claims of conspiracy. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, they've sued because it's not possible to sue the United States military for this conduct. They have sued the private military contractor, CACI, Premier Technology, Inc., that still gets millions of dollars from the United States government. They sued that private military contractor for its clear role in torture, and their role, as we explained to the court yesterday, and as that military investigative reports revealed, was in the night shift where there was a total command vacuum. It was khaki interrogators who told the military police to, quote, soften up detainees for interrogations before the khaki interrogators would go in to question them. And that softening up included the things we saw: sexual humiliation, stress position, forced nudity, chaining to walls, food deprivation, the whole catalog of horrors.
Now, in terms of legal, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but in terms of the legal aspect, what does a conspiracy claim do for this case?
Well, because the because of the chaos in Abu Ghraib, and because our clients, this was long ago and were traumatized, they cannot necessarily directly point to any physical harm caused by khaki itself.
Okay.
But what khaki is responsible for is ordering others to beat and humiliate our detainees. That's what conspiracy means. So even though the mafia don might not himself kill a rival, his ordering of a subordinate to kill the rival makes him liable as a conspirator.
Okay, so they'd be
implicated. It's a very well-known mechanism in the law, yes.
Now, at this point, where do you see the accountability being pointed, or do you see it more as it's being passed around like a hot potato?
Well, there's been a struggle to obtain accountability, meaningful accountability, around Abu Ghraib and around Guantanamo and around CIA torture sites. But I'm hopeful that we'll see a change in the tide a little bit. In this case, and I would note there's a case that was brought largely based on our theory in district court in Washington against 2 psychologists, Mitchell and Jessen, who were the architects of the CIA torture program. And the defendants in that case made the same arguments as the defendants in this case, seeking to dismiss the case because torture is a political question. And the trial court there rejected that argument. So there's a possibility that all of this work collectively might lead to accountability in the long term. That's our hope anyway.
And last but not least, what are your clients hoping to see come out of this? What would they consider just?
What they keep talking about as an opportunity to appear in the United States courtroom and tell the American people what happened to them, to tell their story and to be heard. And that would be a remarkable recognition of their dignity, their humanity, and their entitlement to legal redress.
Thank you so much for sharing this case with us, and we're certainly going to keep an eye on this ongoing battle. Thank you. That was Azmy, Legal Director for the Center of Constitutional Rights.